Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're joining us for this IQPC and Process Excellence Network OPEX in Oil and Gas webinar. My name is Georgina Vilcek, and I'm delighted to introduce you to this fantastic presentation by BCG and XAURA. Before we get started, here are some quick administrative points for you. During the webinar, if you have any questions for any of the presenters about the items that they are going to raise during their webinar, you can submit them via the Q&A box that you can see on the left-hand side of your screen here, and these will be answered either as we go or during the Q&A session, which will follow the formal presentation. If you have any technical issues, you can also write them to us in the Q&A section, and our team will get onto those for you right away. Now, the widgets on your screen can all be resized and dragged around however best fits your screen. So please make sure you adjust as needed for your own screen size. And now you're sitting comfortably, I'll introduce you to Nick Mayhew from XAURA, who's going to lead the session. Nick, over to you.
Thank you, Georgina. A warm welcome to the XAURA and BCG session at this online OPEX event. I sincerely hope everyone is staying safe and well in these extraordinary circumstances. So as Georgina said, I'm Nick Mayhew, Chief Commercial Officer here at XAURA, and I'm excited to have BCG, or Boston Consulting Group's upstream oil and gas team, join us today to share some of their insights in digital maturity in the market. I hope you all enjoy the learnings, and the XAURA team is here to help you follow through with any content you see. Before I start, I want to just introduce XAURA to you. We're a brand new startup, launching initially in the minerals and mining and oil and gas sectors, but soon expanding beyond. We're an innovation hub of digital solutions and help leading global organizations discover proven and best-in-class technologies to support and accelerate their digital transformation. We provide a marketplace of hybrid and digital solutions that come from world-leading industrial companies, startups, and vendors. For industrial companies in particular, we help them take what could be innovative yet bespoke solutions that they may have built to solve specific operational challenges and help them extract and package the IP in order to allow similar companies to take advantage of their expert work. For those searching for solutions to business challenges, we can thus offer a world-class set of innovative technologies, combined with a strong focus on putting it all in context in the industry value chain, challenges and insights. And we're here to help you transform your business using the very best digital solutions that are available. We've partnered very closely with BCG throughout the incubation of XAURA, and BCG features numerous solutions on our platform. Welcome to XAURA. Discover innovation, unlock transformation. So let's get started on the topic of digital maturity. Throughout the session, please feel free to post questions in the chat window, exactly as Georgina says, and I will come back after the formal presentation to help moderate the Q&A with our expert team from BCG. So now I'm delighted to hand over to Håvard from the BCG team, who will introduce the rest of the presenters. Håvard, over to you.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you for having us, and good evening, everyone. So we are truly excited to be with you today and present on a topic that we are really passionate about. So my name is Håvard Holmås. I am a partner in Boston Consulting Group's office in Oslo, and I have for the past 15 years worked in and with the upstream oil and gas industry. And I'm currently co-leading BCG's Global Center of Excellence within digital transformation in oil and gas. And prior to BCG, I also have work experience from the industry and a PhD from the field of flow assurance and development of multi-phase flow simulators. And with me on the call today, I have Sverre Linseth, who is a principal or a senior project manager fully dedicated to upstream oil and gas. I have Mauro Castillos, who is a senior knowledge analyst from our oil and gas knowledge management team. And finally, Michael Lay, who is a team manager in the same knowledge management team and with a global responsibility for our digital acceleration index product that we will present some findings from today. And also let me say 2 words very quickly about BCG. So we are a management consulting company with with a global presence and services across all industries. In total, we're a bit more than 20,000 employees worldwide. And in upstream oil and gas, we support most of the major E&P companies across a range of topics, including their digital transformation agenda. And I think what is unique about our value proposition is that we combine deep understanding of upstream operations with our change management capabilities, as well as dedicated digital units that we've built up over the past decade. And these include a unit called BCG Gamma, where we have more than 850 world-class data scientists. It is a unit called BCG Platinum with more than 650 IT architects and solution developers. And then we have BCG Digital Ventures, which is around 1,000 digital business builders. And it's out of this unit that Nick also alluded to, that XAURA is a spin-off. And then depending on the context, we take the required parts of these units and integrate as part of our delivery teams, working shoulder to shoulder with our clients. And that really enables us to support their digital agenda end to end. Now, to set the scene for this presentation, we wanted to start by showing you a short video with some of our perspectives on what the future of operations in upstream oil and gas could look like.
Since the industry's infancy, upstream oil and gas operators have always been at the forefront of technology development and adoption. To stay competitive, a new wave of transformation enabled by digital is now needed. Many companies have started on this journey, but they are facing challenges such as how to ensure tangible and sustainable impact, how to efficiently scale solutions across assets, geographies, and technical disciplines, how to ensure adoption of the necessary changes in the front line of their businesses. If successful, companies can unlock enormous value. Today's technology solutions connect field operations with remote diagnostics, enabling multidisciplinary collaboration to optimize production and asset integrity through new operating models and digital tools. Integrating data analytics and simulation models from individual upstream processes across technical and economic disciplines. Maximizing value creation across the full production system. Efficiently ensuring integrity by aggregating data from inspections, sensors, and other sources of life cycle information. Integrating legacy systems by leveraging cloud technology to structure, visualize, and process data, thereby optimizing maintenance planning. All enabled by making real-time operational and asset lifecycle information easily available through a future-fit IT and data platform.
Yes, so within digital operations in upstream oil and gas, we in BCG have built our offering around three main elements that you can see on this slide. So it's future operations, integrated operations center, and digital twin. And in future operations, you find products that address the overall digital ops transformation. And here we really believe that fundamental changes to how you operate your assets are required to stay competitive going forward. Within integrated,
Since the industry's infancy, upstream oil and gas operators have always been at the forefront of technology development.
Sorry for that. Yeah, and that. Yes, then in the second bucket, integrated operation center, that is more of a specific product dealing with the larger operating model changes enabled by digital. And as the name indicates, this is usually about establishing some form of physical centers in which analytics and also gradually decisions are centralized, so-called integrated or remote operations centers. And then finally, we have the digital twin, and this is a set of specific use cases or digital applications, all collected under the umbrella of a digital twin. And here we leverage our large library of proven use cases to select and implement those that, given the context of the particular client or the asset we're looking at, generate the most value. And as indicated, that can be either in production optimization, it can be in asset integrity, or in HSE. And now today we want to focus on a specific benchmarking product called the Digital Acceleration Index, which you can find under the Future Operations offering. And this Digital Acceleration Index, or DAI product, has two distinct versions. First, it is an industry benchmark measuring the overall digital maturity of a particular industry. And we have now very recently applied it to upstream oil and gas, where we have conducted interviews with the relevant executives from a range of E&P companies to both assess the maturity of the different companies, as well as exploring these executives' beliefs around the value potential of digital, also given the current challenging situation for the industry. And then secondly, DAI is a pragmatic tool that can be used on a company level for more of a deep dive analysis, which can be useful in several phases of a company's digital transformation journey. So today we'll first focus on some insights from the industry benchmark, and then at the end we'll talk a bit more about how DAI can be applied to your company. So very quickly, in this industry benchmark, we've been surveying close to 50 E&P companies, and it's everything from majors to smaller independents and industrials. And the AI really combines an online survey with deep dive interviews. And in the online survey, there are 38 questions across, I think, 6 different categories, covering elements from strategy to execution. And it's also covering the full upstream value chain, so not only operations, but also exploration, drilling, and field development. And then really the underlying key questions that the AI is aiming to address are the ones on this slide. So how widespread is the use of digital in upstream oil and gas? What are the most common use cases or application areas for digital? To what extent is digital really leading to value creation, and what characterizes those companies that are successful? So with that, I'll leave the word now to Sverre to take you through some of the key findings, but keep in mind that there is a lot more insights than what we will be able to cover in the call today. So please feel free to post questions if you have any. So over to you, Sverre.
Thank you, Håvard. In order to address the first question on this slide, we'd like to start with a simple quiz to check if you have the same experience as the executives we interviewed in our study. So what you hopefully now see on your screens is a poll with 1 question and 2 alternatives, and I'll give you 20 seconds to answer. So where do you think that upstream oil and gas operators are more mature? Would that be in digital strategy, meaning setting an ambition, prioritizing initiatives, and defining a roadmap? Or would that be in execution and value delivery, succeeding in creating bottom-line impact by rigorous execution of high-value use cases and ensuring adoption in the sharp end? I'll give you 5 more seconds, maybe. Okay, so you see it's a quite even split with slightly more on the end of digital strategy than in execution. So then maybe to half of you which thought that execution was where oil and gas has leadership, our findings might be surprising to you. Because as you see on the red line on the slide, oil and gas upstream operators are among the most mature in terms of digitally driven business strategy, also when we compare with other industries. And one of the findings from our study is that actually 9 out of 10 operators have some form of digital vision and is only trailing the fintech industry in this aspect. At the same time, there is a large gap down from strategy to execution, whether it's operations, data platforms, ecosystems, and so forth. Upstream oil and gas is among the industries with largest improvement potential in lifting ability to execute closer to the ambition level. A vice president of upstream technology in one of the super majors we interviewed said the following: "The new wave of digital has delivered a lot of promise, but not a lot of value the past decade." In many aspects, this chart proves this point. An additional finding from our study was that only 1 out of 6 companies have managed to deliver high-end or high-value use cases supporting end-to-end decision-making. Quite too often, the digital strategy is translated into implementing a specific technology rather than making better and/or faster decisions, which ultimately is what's needed to deliver value and score high on our digital maturity index. But don't get us wrong. Upstream oil and gas has a proud history of technological achievements and has for decades been at the forefront of data capture and computing. We see clear pockets of digital excellence already today. For decades, seismic interpretation has been among the top 3 drivers for development in computational power, only second to the military and weather services. Now, we also see increasingly new digital activity in this space, and several examples where use of machine learning automates some of the manual processing, which increase hit rates in exploration. Secondly, while Internet of Things might be new in many industries, real-time monitoring of temperature, pressure, vibrations, and so forth has been the norm for many operators for some time. And some of the more forward-leaning operators are now taking a more structured approach to bring scale to equipment and process monitoring across assets. Digital drilling is a fairly new buzzword, but we frequently observe operators which are able to improve well designs and bring down non-productive time in execution by leveraging experience data from historic drilling operations in completely new ways. There is, however, significant white space to be covered in the digital area in upstream oil and gas, both within the mentioned areas, but also in the rest of the value chain. Common for examples on the left-hand side of the slide is that where we see excellence today is mainly in areas where the need for cross-discipline or cross-business area collaboration is fairly limited. It's critical to strengthen the ability to optimize across silos to deliver value, but also to get most out of digital efforts. Another example is that petabytes of data still sit in unfit prisons within most of upstream oil and gas operators. And there is an enormous potential if this data is liberated. And end-to-end workflow orientation is critical if you want to deliver more, cheaper, and faster barrels with lower carbon footprint. Not only using digital to crunch data and complex equations, as we have used to do, but also using digital to industrialize workflows and ensure standardized adoption across work shifts and assets. So, if there are pockets of digital excellence, is there any value in addressing the white space and closing the gap? Does digital maturity pay off? Well, we should be careful to be too certain about cause and effect. What would you expect? Do you think that there is a correlation between digital maturity and value delivery? Another 20 seconds to answer. Do you think there is a negative correlation, no correlation, or a clear correlation? And by the way, in terms of value delivery, we here define that as total shareholder return, which is a financial term, but in short it is how much the share price increase over time, and also combining that with the ability to pay dividends. 91% says it's or thinks that there is positive correlation, and maybe the question and the backdrop of this session potentially was a bit leading. But at least, as you indicated, we see a clear correlation between the average total shareholder return for the companies which are more mature in the new digital. There is a 6 percentage point TSR difference between the digital starters and the digital performers. And while this might sound small, the oil and gas industry has on average delivered around 2% TSR to its shareholders from 2010 to 2018. The differences we see here could therefore be the difference between a company which is creating and a company which is destroying value for its shareholders. The digital performers are able to cover much more of the mentioned white space through 5 key commonalities. They are better on vision, value focus, real-time analytics, multidisciplinary efforts, and end-to-end workflow orientation. The latter is critically important. Shifting functional excellence angle with workflow orientation allows the digital leaders to see bottom line impact of the dollars they invest much faster compared to peers. The key point is to improve the actual delivery process rather than improving how technical staff and support functions interfere with the processes. We're certainly in quite special times now, and while we're all experiencing the impact COVID-19 has on our personal lives, this is something which is temporary for most of us and something which will blow over. For upstream oil and gas industry, we additionally face the issue of low oil price and storage filled to the rim. And it's not certain that this will blow over the next 2 years or ever. With this in mind, succeeding in digital is even more important now than before. One executive we spoke to focused on the resilience of digital investment budgets. While traditional technology budgets with long lead time qualification programs might take a decade to realize bottom line effect, digital investments have usually much higher speed to impact. In order to get faster value, we also expect that use cases focusing on efficiency and decision quality will be top of the list. But there is a very clear need to act now in order to turn the current situation into something which could mean competitive advantage. As most operators already are doing, responding now through people protection and cash management is an obvious first step. Secondly, regrouping and fast forwarding initiatives focused on supply chain resilience and rapid cost out is imperative. And in order to rebound, there's a clear need to take more and bold action in strategic topics such as end-to-end asset integrity management and value-based production optimization. Regarding the latter, I'll give the word back to Håvard to present an example.
Thank you, Sverre. So we wanted to go a bit deeper on at least one example of a digital initiative that we have seen being successful in creating significant value. And in particular, this example is the establishment of an integrated operation center to really improve production optimization across the full asset base of this particular company. And there are 3 main areas that this IOC addresses. The first one is to avoid downtime. And as an example, the company had a challenge with the turbines and other key rotating equipment causing unnecessary downtime. And they really wanted to use predictive analytics combined with, call it exception-based monitoring to reduce that issue. The second one was to optimize daily production and really lift that as close to the theoretical maximum production potential as possible. And as an example here, they had observed great variations in performance between shifts, and that was one element that they wanted to address. To basically ensure that best practices were adopted across the different shifts. And then the third lever, and perhaps the most important one, was to increase the maximum production potential through proactive debottlenecking. And there they had previously seen great results when establishing, call it, debottlenecking task forces on particular assets. So they knew that there was a lot of potential there if they found a way to address it. And what they wanted to do was to create more of, call it, a continuous improvement operating model around it through the integrated operation center. And now this IOC has been live since 2018, and they are currently ahead of their target to improve production or lift up production by 3 to 4% across their asset portfolio. Now, if you look behind that, there are several factors being highlighted as the reason for the success of this initiative. And the first one being that this was one out of only a handful of digital, what they call digital lighthouse projects in this company, which gave it the proper priority and focus from leadership. Secondly, they very early on established a clear view on the value pools or the value levers that they wanted to go after, and also which they did not want to go after in the first wave, so that they did not try to fix it all at once, but have a quite targeted initiative. And then a third one was the strong business ownership to the initiative, with leadership really driving it forward and setting high ambitions, and also knowing that they would be the accountable persons to realize that value afterwards. And then finally, in the project development phase itself, they ensured that they had full focus on and tight integration between 3 key dimensions that you can see on this slide. So the first one being that they really ensured that they took a value-based approach to develop the right tools with strong involvement of the end users throughout the development process. And then secondly, that they in parallel built a pragmatic and fit-for-purpose IT and data platform, really ensuring also to bring important stakeholders in IT along on the journey. And then thirdly, that they took an end-to-end perspective when establishing the new operating model for the integrated operation center, ensuring that the way people work and the way decisions are made really were changed. And all of these 3 dimensions were handled in an integrated way under the same project governance, and with multidisciplinary teams consisting of some of their best talent from technical disciplines, IT and digital, working together in an agile way to do the problem solving. So with that, I want to hand it over to Mauro to close the presentation with a few words on how the Digital Acceleration Index also can be a pragmatic tool on a company level. So over to you, Mauro.
Thanks, Havard. Hello, everyone. Now I will explain how the DI can also be a critical tool to initiate those changes in business unit or on function levels within companies, which otherwise would not happen. The DI creates value in all stages of your digital transformation. Here in the presentation, I will give 3 main examples. First, at your left-hand side, the DI can be also an essential tool to a baseline digital capabilities. Based in the DI results, companies can originate the digital strategy and also align with business goals, leading to a company-wide digital roadmap. In the center, the DI can also create transparency, how lighthouses in digital initiatives and capabilities can contribute the way forward your digital ambition. And the third part, for more digital mature companies, the DI is a great way to measure progress and ensure that the scaling of digital initiatives and capabilities are on track. In this context, the AI is also a great way of communicating the digital roadmap and progress throughout the company. But we would like to remember the most important thing is that this solution is adapted to your company specific needs. If you need any additional deep dive assessments, like example IT or marketing, are possible on request to our team. And in summary, the DI is very versatile and can be applied in many ways. Let's give some examples, like from a super major to a smaller oil and gas company, from senior round of executives of example 15 people to a company-wide assessment of several hundred participants. And of course, from understanding your digital maturity on a company level or to a very detailed view across business unit and geographies. And now, the specific offering that we are marketing through XAURA today can be very simple deployed in two ways. As you can see in the picture, in the slide, in the left-hand side, you can deploy by a native app or also web-based. The DI follows a 2 to 3 weeks battle-tested standardized approach and give you access to a toolkit with several different deliverables. Today, I will present a few of these deliverables on the right hand of the slide. First, the important one is like the report with insights. As mentioned before by my colleague, you receive a detailed insights of the 38 questions across the 36 categories. After understanding your digital maturity, we move to understand your competitors and the other industries. Then here we reach to the benchmark. The DI at this moment, we have more than 8,500 companies across industries, and an average of 50% of the data points are younger than 18 months. We understand that the digital topic is always evolving, and it's important to have this most fresh data to compare your company to the other ones, to your competitors and other industries. After understanding your digital maturity and understand your competitors and other industries, you support you to transform the insights into action. We will give you several recommendations for a way forward. You'll be able to work in areas where you're less mature and reinforce the strong capabilities that you have. And the fourth deliverable that I want to point out today is that the DI opens the opportunity to access BCG, Boston Consulting Group, vast industry experts network during one workshop. As mentioned before, we have several experts throughout the entire value chain of the oil and gas industry. With that, we would like to thank for your attention, and I would hand over to Nick that will close our session today, and we will open to Q&A. Thanks, everyone. Nick.
Thank you, Mauro, and thank you to the BCG team. Absolutely fascinating session there. Really taking the kind of the assessments and turning that into kind of real insights. And I hope the audience found that interesting, and certainly I did. We got a number of questions in already, so I'm gonna start with the first one. I'll hand over to you, if I may. So the first question: could you talk about any findings you did in the industry benchmark regarding the main barriers for value creation through digital in upstream oil and gas?
Absolutely. Very good question. I think maybe Sverre, you want to comment on that?
Sure. I think I'd like to separate the answer in two aspects, operational issues and underlying issues. So regarding the operational issues, maybe three things. Lack of ability to define the right problems to solve. Secondly, inability to scale. Actually, 9 out of 10 companies said they were struggling with this. And lack of adoption in the sharp end. And for the underlying reasons, I think maybe 4 things. lack of digital leadership and culture, probably not surprising, but I think it was mentioned in all the interviews we did. Too few digital talents at the right places, meaning recruiting, retaining, and deploying in the right way. So there is an issue to get the digital talent in the door. It is an issue to keep them for more than 5 years. And if you manage both of those, it's also an issue to get the digital talent sufficiently weaved into the business where the impact should happen. I think many companies are starting to realize that it might be easier to learn an oil person digital than to try to learn a digital person oil. Thirdly, complex org structures, both generally, but also in terms of how data is managed. And lastly, lack of end user focus. I think still too many companies are developing digital use cases in a push approach, where the new application doesn't necessarily make life easier or enable higher value creation out in the sharp end of the company. I think those would be the 3 key operational issues and the 4 underlying reasons which were most common across the interviews we did.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Ferry. So, gents, we've got about 6 minutes to go, so I'll ask you to go fairly fast on the questions. Yeah, could you talk about any findings you did in the industry benchmark remaining for barriers for value? Oh, sorry, we've done that one. Could you, a second question, sorry. Could you elaborate a bit more about BCG's typical role in the different parts of your upstream digital operations offering?
Absolutely, I can respond to that, and I think that the response I'll try to cover also the question regarding the IOC case study. Does BCG set the digital strategy for the client, or are we also involved in the implementation phase? So maybe if I can, I'll try to just jump quickly back to one of the earlier slides, if that works. So what I take from this question is a bit beyond the digital acceleration index product. So if to exemplify, let me take actually one of the digital twin projects, because that covers many dimensions. And typically for us in BCG, but also from the client side, because we typically support them throughout the full journey. So these engagements are of course divided into a bit, call it different phases. And if we simplify a bit, we can say that there is 3 phases to a typical digital twin project. There is a concept or structuring phase first, then an implementation phase, and then a value realization phase. And if we start with the concept phase, there typically what we do is we engage with business leaders, with the subject matter experts, and then try to identify the scope of this digital twin. And to do that, we follow what we very much believe in, which is a value-driven approach. And the way that goes is that we work a bit top-down, and we look at the different value pools for that asset or that portfolio of assets that we're building the digital twin for. And we try to identify where do we believe that there is the greatest amount of value potential. And then for those specific value pools, we go one step further and we look at, okay, what's the main decisions that we need to be able to make either faster or with higher quality in order to realize that value. And once we have those decisions, it starts to get quite concrete, and we can look at, okay, to make these improvements in the decision making, what types of insights do we need to have readily available? And only when we get there, we start looking at, okay, how can digital technology help us to get those insights pushed up so that we improve the decision making? And then it doesn't stop there. We also look at the end-to-end work process that surrounds that decision making to ensure that there are no other frictions that can be a barrier to the value creation. And then in the concept phase, we also in parallel come in with IT architects, typically from this BCG Platinian entity, to assess the feasibility or effort required to implement the different use cases, and then we prioritize based on that. And as an example, in a recent project, we came out of this phase with the three, call it the first building blocks in their digital twin. So it would be an overall digital twin cockpit. They would have one use case on integrated production optimization and one use case on maintenance planning. And those three use cases we then took into the next phase, which is the development phase, where we work in multidisciplinary teams, as mentioned before, to develop each use case, and first what we call a minimum viable product version of it. So basically a first version that already is usable in production. And in these teams, there's typically a product owner coming in from the business. There's the relevant subject matter experts. It's representatives from IT and also the required digital capabilities to address that specific use case. And then this team works in agile sprints to develop the MVP. And here we as BCG can take on many roles depending on what capabilities the client has in-house and whether there are other third parties also involved. And to cut it short, the next phase then is the value realization phase, and here we typically support handover to the client, both in terms of the developed IT and the training of the end users in the business, and also help put in place proper KPIs to be able to support the governance around the digital twin in this case, and follow up on the value creation. And then we typically gradually either ramp down our support or we continue to support on the next wave of use cases that are implemented. And to also give you a sense of the duration of a project like this, I would say a concept phase we typically go in and do in 6 weeks' time. And then we develop the minimum viable product version of the digital twin, and depending on the use cases, I would say lower limit around 12 weeks and then up to maybe 18, 20 weeks. And then, of course, value realization is an ongoing thing thereafter. But as BCG, we could typically ramp down after 1 to 2 months if we're not supporting on the journey beyond that.
All right,
Yes.
Thank you, Hubert. Do you want to put it back on the last slide, just the call to action slide? So we've got a lot of questions coming in. So firstly, for all of the audience, if you want to follow up, we're asking you to follow up through the XAURA team. So my email address is on the final slide. I'll ask Hubert to put that back. We've probably got time for 2 more questions. If you have posted a question in the box, we will find a way to respond. The safest thing is probably to send me your question, and I will make sure the BCG people get you an answer back. Georgina will take over in a few minutes and perhaps provide some other options. But let's do I think one more question. Actually, we've got time for 2, as I said. So there's what's the best way to show the cost benefit ratio for investing in real-time analysis technologies? Has anyone got a good answer to that one?
Yes, so maybe I could try on that one as well. I think there's lots of companies that are struggling to really measure their progress on digital and how it relates to value creation. And I think what we greatly believe in is that digital is gradually, I would say, disappearing as a separate topic in most of the clients that we support, and it's getting more and more embedded into the business itself. And that also means that for the KPIs and how you measure the value creation, it needs to be measured through the normal business KPIs. And that could, of course, either be financial KPIs or it could be more operational KPIs. So, for instance, reduction in number or duration of shutdowns. And it can also be more, call it process or delivery related KPIs, where you track how you complete milestones according to your plan. And then in addition to that, you can use a benchmark such as the Digital Acceleration Index to more measure the overall digital maturity of your company and how you're progressing on that journey. But this is always a challenging question, and it's always difficult to separate out the exact impact of that digital initiative versus everything else which is going on in the company. But it needs to be business KPIs, like you measure any improvement effort, also measuring the effects of digital initiatives.
Great. Okay, we've got time for one more question. There are about 7 or 8 that are unanswered, so apologies. They just came in a bit late. Well, as I said, please send me an email with your questions. It's nick.mayhew@xaura.com, and we'll happily get you some specific answers from our BCG experts. But we'll wrap up with this one, which is really about the background employees. So, how should the non-IT background employees cope with digital change? What should be the learning roadmap for people perhaps without an IT background in a company that's driving digital transformation?
Okay, I'll go quickly on that one as well. So what we believe greatly in is that in order to succeed with digital, it's not about understanding all the different technologies out there. It's really this value-driven approach, understanding how or what are the value pools in your asset or your company that you really need to go after. And obviously here, the people with the business background and the technical experts are key. And then what we also see more and more the need for is being able then to bridge, once you have an idea of what value pools you want to go into, to bridge that to, okay, how can technology help? And of course, then there is upskilling initiatives that can be done in any number of ways that you upskill normally. But I think the greatest learning experience is that you really put people with different types of competences together in these multidisciplinary teams and let them do the problem solving together. So not one individual need to know the full answer. It's really a team working in an iterative way to do the problem solving with people then from business, but with some understanding of digital, but together with people that have strong digital capabilities and people with strong IT capabilities to get to the optimal answers. So there is no silver bullet for it, but I think the way to learn it is actually to do it, in addition to, of course, reading up and doing it the more theoretical way.
Yeah. Oliver, thank you very much. It's definitely a change management project in the true sense of the word in general as well, of course. So so that brings us to the end of today's session. So thank you very much to the BCG team and also to, nice chance for us to introduce XAURA. You've got some details, my contact details. If there's any interest in the BCG DAI solution, do reach out to me. And as I said several times, if you have a question that was not answered, my apologies, send them to me and I will come back to you personally with a response from the BCG team. So with that, I'm going to hand back to Georgina. Thank you very much, everybody.
Fantastic. Thank you again from all of us as well to you all for listening wherever you happen to be around the world. Remember, you can check out more of the upcoming and on-demand webinars in the OPEX in Oil and Gas webinar series on processexcellencenetwork.com. Thank you very much to everybody for your contribution this afternoon. It's been fantastic. And I look forward to hopefully welcoming you back very soon.